Start right now.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Oh yeah. Thank you for coming to the first season of Shift, the Intelligence Blueprint. I'm so excited you're here. I have to tell you, this is my dream come true. And it's because I know it is my purpose to bring the shift process to the world. And how do I know that? I know that because since 5 years old, I have been dealing with the shift. And the reason I've been dealing with the shift is I was born an intuitive child. You know, that child that asks a lot of questions and it has to make sense in their gut. And I have to say my family was very patient with all of my curiosity. But like a lot of families, we all had that sacred cow, right? And in my family, that sacred cow was the fact that my mother had a secret about my birth father. So when I asked the question at 5 years old, is Dad my real dad? What I got was, that's your silly imagination. Now, you don't have to raise your hand when I ask this question, but how many of you have had a gut knowing where somebody has shut it down? Because, and they're raising their hand back there. Because they wanted to create a different narrative. And at that moment, we have a choice. And the choice is to trust that still small voice inside, or instead to be attached to safety, security, love, and belonging. And of course, when you're little, you have that attachment. But even when we're older, that's a real difficult choice to make, right? Like, you might know something's going on at work, but you don't want to look at it because you might be attached to your job and the income. Or maybe you're in a relationship where you know something's off, but you're like, I don't want to break up, so I'm not going to look at that. So shift is about us becoming more tethered to that still small voice inside I call intuition. Now I have to tell you, this has been a journey for me. And it was really helpful to me that when I learned the brain science behind the shift, I'll tell you, I was like a fly on you know what. Because I was so excited that I could actually explain this thing that I did so naturally. See, I had become a business consultant at the age of 30, before women were really in the boardroom. And companies were hiring me because I had this intuitive ability to cut through the mess and get right to the point. But I couldn't figure out how I was doing it. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could teach other people how to do this? And so when the brain science got out there, I was studying it to the point that I understood how our gut is our unconscious brain. And we have a vagus nerve that runs to our head brain, but here's the thing. The first place it goes when we get a gut alert is the reaction center in our brain, the amygdala. And in that portion of our brain is where we store all of the beliefs and scripts of who we ought to be, how we ought to act to get safety and security and love and belonging. And there lies the struggle. Are you going to listen to the way you were conditioned to try to get that outcome? Or are you going to listen to the still small voice inside, your higher level of consciousness, your intuition? I believe at the highest level it's the Holy Spirit to guide you. Now I have to tell you about how I became a producer, because a lot of people say, well, how did you make the shift from business coach to producer? Well, I've been writing books for 25 years, and my first book was on my birth father's story and how my intuition led me to the truth, and I did meet him. It was called The Secret to I Am. Once I discovered the brain science, I actually wrote the book gut intelligence to explain it, and I trademarked the process. A producer found me from LA. He said, I want to do a show on Trust Your Gut. I said, okay, let's chat. Well, his vision was very different than mine. He wanted to lean into the birth father story. He said, drama and trauma sells in Hollywood. And I said, yeah, but I'm all about solutions. I want to lean into the gut intelligence process. And I got to tell you, that was a hard conversation to have. Because a lot of people were like, Susan, how many people get an opportunity to have a show on Netflix? And I said, well, here's the thing. My intuition is telling me, don't settle. So as destiny would have it, in January, the fires came to LA, and we were just at the end of our 2-year contract. And at that time, the producer said, Susan, you have a choice. LA, Hollywood is frozen. Nothing's going to happen for 3 to 6 months. So if you want to take this show and you want to run with it on your own, no problem. I'll be here to help you if you need me. If it doesn't work out, you can always come back, or you can wait, but nothing's going to be happening for several months. So what did I do? I meditated on it. And you know what the answer is. Here we are today. And I got to tell you, this was the beginning of my next level shift. I thought I had shifted. I was meditating 20 minutes a day, consulting with my intuition when I needed it. But what I found was I was entering an unknown territory. I was stretching myself. I was growing. And now what had really shifted is my intuition was in the driver's seat. So I was saying, okay, you want me to produce this show? Guess what? You're really going to have to lead the way. So the first question was, how do I market this and get contestants for the show? I heard my intuition say, call the Milwaukee Journal. You know Kathy. They'll do an article. And if you haven't read the article, you've got to read it. It was fabulous. 179 applicants for the audition. And I want to thank my friend Deb, who also said many people. Actually, Deb, go like this. Actually, 3 of them, she didn't tell me who she said, I chose as contestants. So if those contestants would stand right now and wave your hands, these are the people I chose to be in Shift, who were all brave contestants with different Shift stories that they came to explore the process. And you're going to see your shift story and their shift story, whether that is you want to shift that chattering mind of perfectionism, or maybe you want to shift to the next level of growth. You'll see your story and theirs. But once I had contestants, guess what? Somebody had to actually video the show. And LA was shut down. So again, I consulted my intuition, and what did I hear? Go on Thumbtack. Well, I got to tell you, I said, Thumbtack, what's that? And I heard, Google it. So I did, and right away Luke, who's in the very back, Luke, if you could raise your hand, answered my proposal. I said, I need a savvy cinematic videographer who's great at editing, and he better be great at also collaborating, because I got a strong opinion. And Luke has been fabulous. We've been editing together, sitting in a room that's about 9 by 11, would you say, Luke? And I'll tell you, he's not only a talented man, but he's a godly man, and just love him to pieces. He's been great. He also recommended who is the videographer. Isaiah could not be here today. He was fabulous. Cody, where are you? If you'd raise your hand. Cody did the drone videography. Oh my gosh, wait till you see the shots. You're going to want to watch the show just to see the beautiful scenes. Thank you very much. Well, now I've got my contestants, I got my crew, I need locations. And I wrote my book Shift in October, and is Leslie here yet? My editor? Oh, there you are. Leslie, stand up and say it, go like this. Leslie worked really hard with me. The book ended up being a bestseller. The producer had suggested I write the book in advance because he said we're doing what's called a scripted, non-scripted. What does that mean? That means you come in with a strong vision and an outline, but there are no scripts. You're going to see, this is authentic. So shaping that book in advance really, really helped me. But in the book, you'll see that we did the challenge course in Kohler. I had brought my clients there for many years to take them on this course so their gut would be challenged. They'd have to listen to their gut on what to do. So when I called to see if we could reserve the course, guess what? They were shut down. And that's when I had to consult with my intuition in the driver's seat again to say, oh, how might we make this shift? And what I heard was Google Lake Geneva. There's something there for you. Are the people from Lake Geneva Zip Lines and Adventures here? Can you stand up, Chris? So I got to give a round of applause because the first 2 episodes in the show were filmed there. And I have to tell you, I loved American Club, but this was even better. And the guides helped us. They were hospitable. The scenery was beautiful. Check, got that one done. But we had 6 episodes to do. We had 4 more to go. So I sent the contestants into individual challenges. One of them you will see tonight. One of them I chose because it will show you the gut intelligence blueprint and the 5 levels of consciousness. And it was filmed at the beach in Pewaukee, and it's gorgeous. And Luke, when you saw that, what's the first thing you said out of your mouth?
Beautiful.
Yeah, wow, this is beautiful. So thank you, Jeff Knudsen, and your people from the village that gave me a permit to be able to, Jeff, you want to go like this? President of the village board. Gave me a permit to be able to film down there. We did 2 of the individual challenges down there. Carissa's challenge we're not showing tonight, but wow, when you watch it on your own, it is a tearjerker. You better have Kleenex because you're going to see a shift from trauma to somebody who is empowered. Then the next shift was at Fred Astaire Studios in Pewaukee. Sasha, where are you? Can you stand? There's Sasha back there. He was my dance partner. Those of you that know me know that I was a ballroom dancer, competed for many years, my 20s and 30s, and it's my bucket list to be on Dancing with the Stars. So I gotta admit, intuition whispered in my ear, girlfriend, this might be your opportunity if they watch this show. So one of the challenges we did was for the couple to show them how to shift from the pattern that they were in, which was the tango. You know the tango, it's that seductive dance where it's come close, go away. Doesn't end well though. So we taught them a new dance pattern of the smooth waltz and how they could be connected in their gut and be more conscious. And then we also had Jenna. Jenna, where are you and your crew? Jenna, can you stand up? Jenna is a 3rd generation business owner. And her challenge was to really step into her leadership and her ownership of her company, being 3rd generation. And I want to give a round of applause for everybody from Clearview, and stand up if you're from Clearview, that was actually in the show, because that took a lot of courage to be in the show on TV. So that was fun. And then Hallie. Hallie, where are you? There's Hallie. Hallie got to speak with a producer and a coach, and he coaches Maria Menounos and Gwen Paltrow, and he gave her some tips on how to shift it to her brand, which is regulating the nervous system in the schools. So you won't see their individual challenges. You'll see Marissa, if you would stand up, and Yola at the beach. Would you stand up? You'll see their challenge today. The other ones you'll have to wait until you see the whole show. But you will get to see 2 other really fun challenges from episode 5 and 6. And I chose those because this is really next level gut intelligence. You know, once you start listening to your intuition, and you're like, I got this, I got it, I'm really clear, I know my truth, I know my yes, I know my no. But then guess what happens? We put you in a group with other people, and if they feel the same way, now what? That's when we really have to stretch into the other lobe of our brain, where we stay focused on the vision of what we want to create, and we stay open-minded with the question, how might we? We don't go into black and white thinking that I'm right, you're wrong. That's the ego again. And you'll see in this Build a Boat Challenge, they had a half an hour with limited supplies in 90-degree weather, and limited resources to build a boat that would float across the lake. And I'm telling you, this is entertaining. And finally, we will show you our very last challenge. And our very last challenge, we brought in our mentors. So if you were one of our mentors, if you would please stand up. I know we have several of our mentors. These are people who went through, thank you for being here, give them a round of applause. These are people who have been through the program. And I saw their story and the contestants' story, and I matched them up. And they shared where the contestants were stuck and gave them some tips on how to get unstuck and how they shifted. But they also acted as judges for our last finale. In our last finale, each contestant had to get up there and tell their shift story and their shift song with original lyrics and original tune. And they only had 30 minutes to create it. Now, why did we give them challenges like this and rate them? Well, first of all, it is Hollywood, and it is entertaining. And we're calling the show Part Survivor, Part Masterclass. But the real reason for doing it made sense. Because when we get a gut alert and we feel under pressure, we often get stuck in that part of our brain where we can't hear our intuition. So this was the master class for them to practice those techniques and be able to listen to their intuition and excel. I am so excited for you to be here tonight, for you to see what's going to be about 75 minutes of what is 6 episodes, about 155 minutes. But don't worry, we have a huge surprise for you at the end of the show, because we're not going to make you wait very long to see the rest of it. Are you excited about that? Give me a, oh yeah! And before I say it's time to hit the lights, I just want to thank a couple more people. First of all, I want to thank every one of you who have ever taken a course from me. You kept me believing in this process. I'm getting teary-eyed right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank my friend Dave, who made us look really beautiful on this cover. Isn't that beautiful? Give a round of applause. And the wind finish, who I did my own shift song, which you'll hear at the very end, and he did the instrumental production in the background. Thank you for that. Ring, could you raise your hand? And I have to thank my daughters, who in this last couple months, when we were making decisions at cheetah speed, I was often sending them a text with only 4 words. What do you think? To which I either got, great, you got this, Mom, or really great advice. So I'm really happy that that college education I paid for at Madison paid off. Thank you very much. And to all of you who have ever listened to me in the past 3 years, because this has really been a 3-year production, to hear me say, wow, this is hard. I am in my own shift. Being challenged to practice my process, I appreciate you listening to me. Because when we grow, guess what happens? We go into the unknown, and we have to become more dependent on our intuition and trusting our gut, or what we'll be listening to late at night when we can't sleep is that ego's chattering voice in our head. How many of you want to shift that? You don't need to raise your hand, just smile. So here we are, ready for, let's get the show on the road, let's hit the lights, and when the lights are down, Luke, roll them.